I'm Sophie and I'm the Cancer Research UK Research Engagement Manager based in London, and I'm here to show you how to make a human cell out of the craft materials that we've gathered. And I've got all my materials here. I hope that you guys have too. You can see here, so I'm going to be doing it along with you. And as we go along, we're going to explore what's inside our cells and find out about the different jobs they do to keep us healthy, something which is really important for our cancer scientists when it comes to beating cancer. So get your craft materials ready and follow along as we make our cells, and you can be a scientist too. But don't worry if you haven't got those craft materials with you, you can still draw or paint along with us. So first things first, what are cells? Well, cells are the tiny microscopic building blocks of life. All living organisms, humans, animals, plants, they're all made up of cells. Adults have about 100 million cells in their body. This is really difficult to imagine, but if I told you that there are more cells on your little finger than there are people in China, then that might give you a bit of an idea of how many cells there are in the body. Now, there are around 200 different types of cells in the body, and they all have different roles. For example, the cells lining the gut absorb nutrients from our food, and red blood cells deliver oxygen to our tissue. Your body is constantly reproducing new cells to replace those that are old or damaged. In fact, in the past minute, your body has made 144 million new red blood cells, 35 million new gut cells, and 40,000 new skin cells. So that means that you're constantly shedding dead skin cells everywhere. So that's a really pleasant thought to have. And so enough of that, we're going to move on to crafting our cells. And remember that each of these tiny cells that I've talked about are made up of lots of different types, different parts of the cell to help them function. So we're going to make our cells bit by bit, and I'll tell you about all of the different bits. Now, here's a cell that I made earlier out of the craft bits that I had around the house, just to give you an idea about what you should end up with. But we also want a clear picture of what a cell might really look like. So here's a diagram that we're going to refer to as we craft our cells. So is everyone ready? Let's get started. So for step one, we're going to make something called the cytoplasm. Now, the cytoplasm, for this, you're going to take your A4 paper or your card or your felt, and you're going to cut it into a lovely big oval or round shape. Now, this needs to be big enough so that you can stick everything else onto the paper. So make sure that it is large enough and you can use it to craft all your other bits. Now, the cytoplasm is like a gel substance that's made up of salt and water, and this provides a foundation for the cell part so that they can move freely. We can think of a cell like a city with all the different parts playing roles to keep the cell running smoothly. For example, the cytoplasm is like our city foundation where all of the other parts of the cell can function. How's everyone doing? Has everyone got their oval shapes in front of them for the cytoplasm? I've got mine here, and you can see the outer edges of our cytoplasm. They're called the cell membrane, and these are the city walls that allow things to move freely in and out of the cell. Now, if you want to go a step further, you can see that the diagram that I'll be showing and referring to throughout has the names labelled, and so you can write down the names of the different parts of the cell as we go along if you'd like to do that too. So next, we're going to add something called the nucleus. So for the nucleus, we want to take the jar or bottle top. I've got my jar top here, and you're going to stick it to the cytoplasm. So take your tape or your glue, and you're going to stick it down to the cytoplasm just off to one side, like you can see in the diagram. And I've got mine stuck down here, like so. Now you can think of the nucleus as the cell's main control centre, telling the cell what to do and when. And once you've got that stuck down, you're going to take a length of material or string. I've got an elastic band that I found around the house, and you're going to put it into the middle of your nucleus. Just stick it down into the middle of your nucleus. This is representing our DNA. So the DNA is stored inside the nucleus and contains all of the information that a cell needs to work properly. So on to the next step. For step 3, we're going to add something called the mitochondria. For the mitochondria, I want you to grab 3 or 4 of your oval-shaped objects for this and stick them down around the cell, a little bit away from the nucleus. For this, I've got some leaves. You'll notice as I go along, I've got a bit of a nature theme going on because I went out into the garden and gathered some of my materials this morning. So I want you to take those mitochondria, those oval-shaped objects, and you're going to stick them down a little bit away from the nucleus. So the mitochondria you can think of like the city's power station. It provides energy for the cell to function using oxygen and sugar. Like you can think of the way that our homes are powered. So we can use our lights, we can cook, we can clean, and we can charge our technology as well. And that's what the mitochondria is like. So has everyone got their mitochondria stuck down? I'm just sticking down my final bit, and you can see my cell here. So on to the next step. Step 4 is our endoplasmic reticulum. Now, endoplasmic reticulum is a great word to say, so you can say it out loud if you want to. It's also got a really important function as part of the cell. All parts of the cell have a really important function, but the endoplasmic reticulum is something that sits just outside the nucleus, and so this is where we want to use another piece of string or material. So I've got some string here, and what you're going to do is you're going to loop it around half of the nucleus, the bottle top, and then try and loop it back on itself, so it kind of looks like a crescent moon around the nucleus. Now, the endoplasmic reticulum is the city's factory. You can think of proteins that are made in the endoplasmic reticulum like tiny worker robots. So the endoplasmic reticulum is the city's factory. It produces something called proteins, and these are like tiny worker robots, and they do all of the different jobs around the cell. So I've got mine stuck down here. I'm sure you're doing a better job than me at home, in spite of the fact that I'm trying to channel my best Neil Buchanan from Art Attack. So next is our Golgi apparatus. So for your Golgi apparatus, you're going to want to grab your small, long objects. These are like twigs or toothpicks, lollipop sticks, straws, and I've got some stems again from the garden that I collected. And what you're going to do is you're going to stack them up next to each other, and you want to place them just underneath the nucleus. So stack them up next to each other and place them underneath the nucleus. Now, the Golgi apparatus is like the cell's sorting office. After being made in the endoplasmic reticulum, the proteins, which I mentioned are like these worker robots that go around the cell and do lots of things, they go to the Golgi apparatus, the sorting office, to be sorted and then sent to work. Now, last but not least, let me show you a picture of mine. Here we go. So we've got our Golgi apparatus just stuck down here. Oh no, my DNA is falling out. So last but not least, step 6 are something called our vesicles. So for our vesicles, you're going to need a few small round objects like buttons or pom-poms or flowers. And I want you to stick them next to your Golgi apparatus, the twigs or the lollipop sticks that you said. So I've got some little tiny buttercups that I collected from the garden, again with the nature theme. So I'm going to stick them down next to or near to my Golgi apparatus. So these vesicles, they're like delivery vans. They carry those proteins, those worker robots around the cell once they've been made in the endoplasmic reticulum and then sorted in the Golgi apparatus. Then they go off on these vesicles and travel around the cell to do all of those really important little tasks that help each cell out of those 100 million to function. So there you should have your cell. Has everyone got theirs? I'm looking forward to seeing photos of them. And thank you so much for joining in with this craft today. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you a chance to explore a little bit about our human cells and understand what they do and how they work. And so understanding cells, different types of cells, how they function, what they do is really important for cancer research and being a cancer scientist. Sometimes things can go wrong in our cells, which can lead to cancer. Years of painstaking lab research means that cancer scientists understand a lot of differences between healthy cells and cancer cells. So Cancer Research UK is funding research to understand more about how our cells work so that we can develop new ways to beat cancer. And thank you so much